rise for a pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Recording in progress.
Roll call.
Jeff Renahan, First Ward.
Bill Carlos, Second Ward.
Ann Berger, 3rd Ward.
Michael Safone, 4th Ward. Stefan Krakauer, 5th Ward.
Ann Shershon, 6th Ward.
Alicia Salvatore, Town Clerk.
Jim Nelson, attorney for the town.
John Bay is the town supervisor. Welcome everybody to tonight's meeting. On tonight's agenda, item number 1 is to promote Detective Richard Cecily to police sergeant. 2, appoint Matthew Hanson to police officer. 3, appoint Patricia Teller as senior clerk of the building department. 4, appoint Diane Tancredi as senior typist with the highway department. 5, appoint Francisco Cicero as rec leader with recreation. 6, appoint Kelly Davies, motor equipment operator with the highway department. 7, accept senior center donations. 8, accept the transfer of highway surplus equipment. 9, set a date for a public hearing, town code amendments, cannabis retail dispensaries and tobacco stores. 10, set a date for a public hearing, town code amendment, short-term rentals. 11, authorize the supervisor to sign amendment to the extension agreement with the county DWI patrols. 12, consent lead agency Area Materials, Inc. 13, waive a liquor license, All-in-One Adventures, 2001 South Road. 14, authorize the town clerk to re-advertise for bids for highway department storage building. 2 SCs, SC1, reappoint Lisa Stevens to the Board of Ethics. SC2, accept the resignation of Brian Witten from Highway Department. With that, I'd like to suspend the rules for any item on the agenda and ask people to please limit their time to 3 minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there anybody that would like to discuss any item that's on the agenda?
Yes, I would.
Go ahead, Michelle.
Hi, good evening. There are just 2 items on the agenda that I wanted to comment on, and I hope the public, can hear this. But number 1, the cannabis dispensaries, the regulations are designed to protect the health and safety and welfare of town residents. Yeah, that's a quote in our in the paperwork for the town. But everybody seemed to have ignored my recommendation that the cannabis products be labeled when they are GMO. And if they're not labeled GMO when they are GMO, that's not protecting the health and safety and welfare of town residents. They're going to be taking this into their lungs, and if it's GMO or Monsanto related created material, it's not going to be good for your health. I'm just saying. So there's that one item, and I still really, I underscore that there should be GMO labeling in our town if people are going to be inhaling any substance really, but cannabis they'd really be ruining. And on agenda 11, in terms of the DWI patrols, and it does mention it's going to be Friday evenings and or Saturdays. Friday evenings, when people are driving home, say between 6 p.m. and 12 p.m. When I read the scope of services, and I was, happy, because if we do have a lot of DUIs or DWIs and people are getting into accidents for whatever reasons, we don't want that. We don't want people getting hurt. But it appears as though under scope of services, which is page 67 of 75 of our agenda center document, it says that there's a performance goal for the officers, and the performance goal is, quote, reduction in the number of patrol hours per arrest. Now, what that says to me is that the officers have to make arrests in short time, the shortest period of time possible, and they're incentivized by how quickly these arrests are made and how many, not necessarily to be removing people who should not be behind the wheel. there, it's like a number, it just looks like and sounds like and smells like a revenue operation. And peace and the
Time's up,
safety
Michelle.
officers shouldn't be harassing the public in order to get their numbers. So I thought the goal was going to be associated with statistics, lowering DWIs and DUIs and accidents like that. So anyway, so the public needs to understand that, and I don't know if they.
Michelle, your time's up.
I don't know.
Thank you.
I have nothing more to say on that. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Anybody else like to speak about an agenda item?
Motion to resume the rules?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ann?
Be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize the appointment of Detective Richard Cecily to the permanent position of Police Sergeant at the yearly salary of $114,702.39, subject to a probationary period of not less than 8 nor more than 26 weeks per civil service law, effective March 6, 2023. And be it further resolved that the town supervisor is authorized to execute and file all documentation required by the Dutchess County Department of Human Resources in connection with this appointment. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Welcome aboard.
Well deserved.
Congratulations.
I do solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of
the duties of
Police Sergeant
Police Sergeant
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Be resolved, the Town Board, Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby appoint Matthew Hanson to the position of full-time police officer under the provisions of civil service law at the starting yearly salary of $58,429.60, effective March 6, 2023, which appointment is subject to a probationary period of not less than 26 nor more than 52 weeks per civil service law. And be it further resolved that the supervisor is authorized to execute and file all documentation required by the Dutchess County Department of Human Resources in connection with this appointment. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Raise your right hand after me. I do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
Yes, there's no audio.
and I will faithfully
I'm here in
discharge
virtual land.
and discharge
the duties of police officer for the town of Poughkeepsie
police officer of the town of Poughkeepsie
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Be resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby appoint Patricia Taylor to the position of Senior Clerk with the Building Department at a grade 6, step 3, salary of $24.36 per hour, effective March 6, 2023, with a probationary period of no less than 8 nor more than 26 weeks per civil service law. And be further resolved that the town supervisor is authorized to execute and file all documentation required by the Dutchess County Department of Human Resources in connection with this appointment. So moved.
Second.
Got a motion, a second. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Be
Be resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby appoint Diane Tancredi to the position of senior typist with the Highway Department at a grade 6, step 3, salary of $24.36 per hour, effective January 6, 2023, with a probationary period of no less than 8 nor no more than 26 weeks per civil service law, and be further resolved that the town supervisor is authorized to execute and file all documentation required by the Dutchess County Department of Human Resources in connection with this appointment. So moved.
Second.
Got a motion second. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Be it resolved, the Town Board of Town of Poughkeepsie is hereby provisionally appoint Frank Cicero to the position of Recreation Leader with the Recreation Department at a grade 8, step 2, salary of $27.41 per hour, effective March 6, 2023. Be it resolved, the permanent employment is contingent upon completion of civil service exam and achievement of the reachable status. At that time, Mr. Cicero will begin his probationary period of no less than 8 nor more than 26 weeks per civil service law. Be it further resolved, the town supervisor is authorized to execute and file all documentation required by the Dutchess County Department of Human Resources in connection with this appointment. So moved.
Second.
Got a motion second. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Congratulations, Frank.
Be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby appoint Kelly Davies to the position of Motor Equipment Operator with the Highway Department at a salary of $21.50 per hour, effective March 6, 2023, with a probationary period of no less than 8, no more than 26 weeks per civil service law. And be it further resolved that the town supervisor is authorized to execute and file all documentation required by the Dutchess County Department of Human Resources in connection with this appointment. So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Congratulations, Kelly, if you're here. And Frank, congratulations, now that I see you're here. I thought you were mixed in with the police department.
Be resolved, Town Board, Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby accept with appreciation donations in memory of the Senior Center member Beatrice Davis from Ruth and Randy Zuzman, $50, Charlotte and Paul Miller, $18, Ellen Wiseman and Rick Payton, $75, Kenneth Stern and Marjorie Sloan, $36, Janice Sampson Sprock, $50, and Diana M. Vanette, $40. It be it further resolved that said donation, which was made to our Recreation Department, will be used for various recreation and senior citizen programs for the town of Poughkeepsie residents. So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. I'd like to thank all of them for reaching out and donating in memory of Beatrice Davis.
Be it resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby ratify the sale of the listed surplus highway equipment as shown in the annexed memo from Superintendent of Highways Michael Simon. Complete record of the equipment and the results of the auction will be maintained by the Highway Department, and be it further resolved that pursuant to the Highway Superintendent's request, the $53,106 will be deposited in the Equipment Fund DB 5100-0201, and further that because this involves the sale of equipment, it is a Type A action requiring no environmental review. Sale proceeds after deposit to the sale of the equipment line will be subject of a budget transfer to what? Never mind. What was amended? Forget it, I'll just do it, I'll do it over. Be resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby ratify the sale of listed surplus highway equipment as shown in the annexed memo from Superintendent of Highways Michael Simon. A complete record of the equipment and the results of the auction will be maintained by the Highway Department. And be it further resolved that the $53,106 realized will be initially deposited in the appropriate fund, and that after deposit, it shall be the subject of a budget transfer to replenish the Highway Department's equipment fund line. So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any questions on
Mr.
that?
Krakauer, the reason that says can be and shall be is that Mike Simon had asked that the proceeds replenish the equipment line, but my understanding of the bookkeeping accounting system is it has to go into another line first and then be the subject of a budget transfer. So I didn't know whether the board would want to say that
So
it
it can
shall
be.
be.
It can be.
Can be, okay. Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Whereas the town board has received a recognition from the Code Update Committee that a local law amending Chapter 210 entitled zoning to include provisions for cannabis retail dispensaries and tobacco stores, amending 210-9, 210-22C, 210-23C, 210-25C, 210-29C, 210-35C, 210-36C, and the addition to 210-61 entitled Cannabis Retail Dispensary, 210-111.1 entitled Tobacco Stores, and 210-152.1A should be considered for adoption, and whereas the proposed local law is annexed hereto as Exhibit A and incorporated herein as if recited verbatim, and the town board does direct that said local law be spread across the record as if it in fact had been read verbatim, and whereas this action is amending the zoning law as a type 1 action under New York State Environmental Quality Review Act and an environmental assessment form, EAF, as an annex hereto, and whereas the town board has determined that the proposed zoning amendment must be referred to Dutchess County Department of Planning and Economic Development and to Town Planning Board for review and recommendation, and whereas the amendment requires a public hearing, now therefore be resolved, the town board hereby states that because only the town board can consider and adopt changes to the town code, that it is the only involved agency, and the board hereby declares that it is a lead agency for purposes of coordinating the environmental review of this matter pursuant to Article 8 of the Environmental Conservation Law, and the town board hereby sets a public hearing on the proposed local law for April 12, 2023 at 7 p.m. or as soon after is the matter may come to be heard in the Town Hall, 1 over Rockland Road, Poughkeepsie, New York, and the town board refers this matter to Dutchess County Department of Planning and Economic Development for a recommendation pursuant to GML 239-M, and the town board refers this matter to the planning board for an advisory report pursuant to Town Code Sections 210-154, and the town board directs the town clerk to notify the clerks of each of the surrounding municipalities of the public hearing pursuant to GML 3239-NN. So moved.
Second.
You have a motion second. Any questions?
We had a couple, I talked to Councilman Krakauer, we had a couple of questions, and we reached out to Lisa Cobb, and we're waiting for her to get back to us, because we tabled this for another meeting in April, unless you wanted on a cow to go to May to get in touch with her. She didn't get back to us this
She'll
week.
get back to you today.
Oh,
She got-
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, she'll get back to you.
It was late today, and I had texted her and emailed her. I have a whole bunch of questions. I have concerns regarding the difference between a special use permit and a overlay zone specifically, as far as what the town board can and can't do. What she said conflicts with my understanding of what it would be, and also sort of conflicts with what Mike Welty had alluded to the prior meeting. So that's not clear. The other thing that I wanted to take a closer look at was the distance of any cannabis dispensary from residential neighborhood and also from schools. And then the other thing that came up, the chief of police had brought up an issue regarding just enforcement in general right now is pretty difficult in New York State for illegal. And in that, there was an article, and I saw other articles kind of linked to that, talking about the issues that come up with kids and the sale of things other than strict cannabis, like the edibles and things like that. So I'm not sure quick glance on this, I didn't look at it this in connection with that, but I guess my concern would be whether we should allow dispensaries or whether we can regulate them selling things other than just straight cannabis, because the edibles seem to be problematic with kids. And one of the articles referred to the old Joe Camel ads for cigarettes, where they market it to children because it's a big group of people they can sell it to, and they market it as something that is harmless, and Joe Cool was the cool camel. And with the edibles, kids eat gummies. When they put edibles on the shelf, there have been instances, I know, talking to some people and through some articles, where kids have ingested too much because they don't understand what they're ingesting. So I guess it is something that New York State is allowing, but I'd prefer to take baby steps in our process and not screw it up. And wherever I don't want it, I've been clear, I don't want it in my neck of the woods, but if it's gonna be in our town, I want it to be done appropriately and safely and with all the proper regulations. The other thing that I find shocking is that, and I didn't realize this until recently, that you can literally walk into stores now in the town of Poughkeepsie, and I just was in one about an hour ago where they have marijuana on the counter in jars, selling it illegally. The illegal sales are through the roof now because of the way New York State decriminalized things. And our police department doesn't really have the proper tools to deal with that and how to control that and how to prevent it. And the illegal sales go wherever they want. We don't get to really pick them right now. Even if we control where there's a smoke shop, it's one way, but if they're selling it in gas stations and convenience stores and everywhere else under the counter or on the counter, there's a problem that we have to resolve. So you can drive down the street, somebody sitting next to you at the traffic light can be smoking whatever they want, and there seems to be no downside risk right now in New York State. We should figure out a way to deal with that in our town.
You're never gonna deal with that piece, because it's now
No.
legal, that's
No, no.
legal. And the gummy part, the businesses that are gonna be licensed will be regulated. As far as you said, the other issue, with all these local stores that are selling them, that's an issue that has to be addressed, how New York State addresses it, because they really, between the discovery and other things, they tied the police department's hands, because by the time they go out and have it actually tested, it's past the discovery date before it even comes back. So that's a bigger issue. We're not going to table it till the next meeting and bring it back, gives you guys 2 weeks to look over it, because this is something we're bringing back. And we don't, not next week's meeting, the following, bring it back to set date then.
The next meeting is until March 22nd, so
Yeah.
it would almost bring it to May.
Yeah, that's fine.
March?
I
You mean
don't
April?
know.
Why don't we do, can we table it to the first meeting in April?
Well, March 22nd, that's almost 20 days. That's the next town board meeting, March 22nd.
No, I know, I can count from one, I
Okay,
can
I'm just
subtract
saying.
1 from 22 would be 21 days, I think, pretty much. I'm
Yeah.
just running that math through my head without a calculator even.
Right.
I went through it. I because of what the chief said, and honestly, Councilman Berger could attest to, I had no idea some of this stuff was happening. So maybe I was a little bit naive in what's going on in the world around us.
The only thing I can say is that with the dispensaries, you're gonna have regulated products.
No, I know,
Yeah.
but one,
And it's,
And also, it's regulated who they let people in. They're actually going to.
Yes, they're gonna be ID'd at the door versus.
No, I know
They're not going to
that.
allow children in the store to buy gummies.
But along the line.
But
with
you
Stephanie-
also have alcohol that's regulated. They're not going to allow children to a liquor store to buy liquor, although I could probably tell you a dozen.
But they sell the liquor now at the mobile too.
No, I know, but what
Southern
I'm saying
Comfort and the.
is, but to rely on that is not really realistic. And then the other side of it, part of the reason why it's hard to enforce right now is there's no downside risk, because if the fine is a couple $100. but
Right,
you're
and
making-
bail reform,
But you're
they're
making,
out.
right. So that's what I'm saying. So the idea to rely on the fact that it's going to be regulated, we have regulated stuff that people disregard all the time. I would just like to take a little bit more time to
Well,
read
the other
through
thing
it.
that's in here that you haven't mentioned, which is, I think is more important than all the other stuff, is the smoke shops are in there. That is a piece to be looked at, because that isn't part of
That's
this
where the
law.
regulation needs
That's
to
where
be.
we may be able to make a change, because that's in this law too.
Well, smoke shops, the penalties that we have as far as nuisance ordinances and other things need to be looked at. So if there was a race to the finish line on something, it would be dealing with a problem we already have versus creating another potential problem.
And part of
That's what
that-
I say, I want to take more time to look through it, because I did not understand the full depth of what was going on. So the was it April 5th? It's not that big a difference, it just gives a little bit more time.
Yeah, I
No
just wanna
meeting April 5th.
There's no meeting April 5th, why
No,
not?
it's April 12th.
Okay, April 12th. We got a couple of things that we've been pretty busy on, that I've been actively involved in. I would just like to take some time to look through it without having to come to the next meeting.
Just make sure we look through it. I don't want to
Yes,
keep
I-
it, we
I
waited a
absolutely-
full year for this,
Yes.
to get this here, to wait. And don't get me wrong, we put a piece in here at the end of this that wasn't in there, which was Mike, I give them and his committee, a lot of credit for doing it, for realizing the smoke shops in the distance and how many have set up in Arlington to try to address that and that isn't here.
Yeah, no,
That is something that
I
needs to
promise
be
you I
looked
will.
And that is the problem.
I promise you I will be actively
corner
involved with
smoke
it.
shops.
And I'd like to sit down with Mike and also the chief of police between now and then to talk about what the issues are, to figure out the best ways to tie up some of these.
And that nuisance law, I don't personally think should be in this. It should be something totally separate, because it's, if you look at what other towns have done down Long Island, it's something that could help us a lot in other avenues besides just
All right,
cannabis.
maybe it shouldn't be in this, maybe it should be run on a
Yeah.
parallel track, but I promise you I will be working diligently to understand it all.
Do we have a motion to table this?
Motion table to April 12th.
April 12th, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes 5-1.
Thank you.
Number 10.
5-1?
Except for Ann,
Yeah.
thank you, everybody else.
Whereas the town board has received a recommendation from the Code Update Committee to a local law adding a new chapter 168-1 entitled Short-Term Rentals to the town code and amending chapter 210 entitled Zoning to include related provisions for short-term rentals in 210-9, 210-55B, 210-9202, and adding 210.105.1 should be considered for adoption. Whereas the proposed local law is annexed here too to Exhibit A and incorporated herein as if recited verbatim, the town board does direct that said local law be spread across the record as if it, in fact, had been read verbatim. Whereas this action to amend the town code is a type 1 action under the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, and an environmental assessment form, EAF, is annexed here too. Whereas the town board has recommended that the proposed code amendments must be referred to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Economic Development and to the town planning board for review and recommendation. And whereas the amendments require a public hearing. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board hereby states that because only the town board can consider and adopt changes to the town code, that it is the only involved agency, the board hereby declares that it is the lead agency for purpose of coordinating the environmental review of this matter pursuant to Article 8 of Environmental Conservation Law. And the town board hereby sets a public hearing on the proposed local law for April 12th, 2023, 7 p.m. or soon thereafter, as the matter may come to be heard in the Town Hall, 1 over Rock Road, Poughkeepsie, New York. The town board refers this matter to Dutchess County Department of Planning and Economic Development for a recommendation pursuant to GML 239M. And the town board refers this matter to the planning board for an advisory report pursuant to Town Code Section 210-154. And the town board directs the town clerk to notify the town clerks of each of the surrounding municipalities of the public hearing pursuant to GML 239NN. So moved.
Second.
Do we have a motion second? Any questions?
Yeah, who's actually going to be issuing these licenses? Because reading through it, I believe it is our zoning administrator will be issuing the licenses. Okay,
Yep.
that works.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Motion passes 5-0.
Be resolved, the town board of town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize the supervisor to sign the 2023 Stop DWI Amendment and Extension Agreement with the County of Dutchess, a copy of which is attached. So moved.
Second.
Do we have a motion second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Be it resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby consent to the town of Poughkeepsie Planning Board acting as seeker lead agency. Notice of intent paperwork in its entirety can be found in the town clerk's office for the project known as Erie Materials, Inc., 657 Chief Road, exact location of which can be found on the planning department notice attached here too, dated February 21st, 2023. So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any questions?
What is that?
It's like a material contractor's yard.
Is it there already?
No, it was where the church was gonna go, and before that was Cold's Gym at one point, and it was like a,
All right, are they tearing that building down?
no.
All right.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Be resolved, the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby acknowledge receipt of a request on behalf of All-in-One Adventures, 2001 South Road, Poughkeepsie, New York, for a waiver of the 30-day review for a liquor license application. And be it further resolved, the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby approve the town clerk's forwarding of a waiver and consent pursuant to the attached request. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion second. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Number 14, we have that? Yes, all right, I got it. Whereas Highway Superintendent Simon has proposed that bids be authorized for the construction of a 40 by 60 foot post-frame storage building with the work to be formed at the Highway Department Headquarters, 8 Burnett Boulevard, Poughkeepsie, New York, and now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize town clerk Salvatore and Superintendent Simon to re-advertise for bids for the construction of the above building pursuant to plans and specifications available to the public on March 6, 2023, in the office of the town clerk with a suggested but not mandatory pre-bid site visit on March 20, 2023 at 8 Burnett Boulevard, Poughkeepsie, New York, at 10 a.m. with the bid opening to be held on March 28, 2023 at 11 a.m. The Town Hall Meeting Room, 1 Over Rock Road, Poughkeepsie, New York. And be it resolved, the cost of the project is anticipated to be paid from funds previously budgeted and appropriated, and the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie reserves itself the right to accept or reject all bids in whole or in part, and be it further resolved that because the proposed storage building will have a gross square footage of less than 4,000 square feet, this project is a type 2 action requiring no environmental review. So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-6-0.
Be resolved, the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby grant special consent to the items to wit. 1, reappoint Lisa Sibbons, Board of Ethics. 2, accept resignation of Brian Winter of the Highway. And be further resolved that upon the objection of any member of the town board, an item may be removed from the list and voted on separately. So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Be it resolved, the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby appoint Lisa Stevens to a position of town of Poughkeepsie Board of Ethics, which term expires on February 28, 2025. So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Be it resolved, the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby accept with regret the resignation of Brian Witten from the town of Poughkeepsie Highway Department effective March 4th, 2023. So moved.
Second.
Been a motion second. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Wish Brian best of luck in his new position. That brings us to the end of our agenda. I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules for any item at all.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I ask anybody that speaks to please limit it to 3 minutes.
Is there anybody that wants to speak at any town issue? Doreen?
Doreen?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Doreen.
Can I go ahead?
Yep.
Yeah, so I had a question, for you, Jay. For Violet Estates, have they given the $50,000 donation for, recreational, the rec fees, or however you want to call it, $50,000 donation to be used for recreational purposes?
Doreen, not that I know of yet, and I don't know if they got their COs yet. I'll check in the morning.
Okay, well, the latest inspection report for February said that final COs were issued for buildings A through F, which I believe are all of the buildings. And I know I'd asked you once before, and you said after the final COs were issued.
Yep.
And the reason why I'm bringing that up is I want to make sure they give that $50,000. They got about a $1.3 million in sales tax, mortgage tax, and pilot that the town board had okayed and the Dutchess County IDA approved. And recently I saw in the paper that the same firm, Reynolds Asset Management, is basically going to be evicting a 99-year-old veteran in Pine Plains because he lives in some townhouse complex that I guess they're renovating or something. And Hudson River Housing thought they were going to be able to save 9 units they were trying to buy for affordable housing, and this gentleman, 99-year-old veteran, was going to try to stay in his apartment. And then Reynolds Management abruptly ended the agreement. So this Reynolds received $1.3 million, promised the town $50,000, but on the other hand, they're evicting a 99-year-old veteran from his townhouse. So I find that just really appalling. So I hope you follow up on that, Jay, because at the IDA meeting, they did make a point of saying that they were giving additional money to the town. So I think they better be following through.
And I'll reach
Thank
out
you.
to them. I talked to them about 3 months ago, Doreen. They weren't quite done yet. so they know it's out there, so I will reach out to them tomorrow.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Make a motion, resume the rules?
Yes,
Oh,
I would like to speak.
go ahead, Michelle.
Okay, thank you. Did we hire Cityscape as our wireless consultant?
We hired somebody a few weeks ago, I'm not, yes, it was Cityscape.
Yeah.
Okay, so Cityscape is the company that has no New York experience, and they're known for revenue generation and you know, offering towns that information and stealth infrastructure. So they're not the folks that I think should be guiding our safety or answering any safety questions having to do with the OET Bulletin 65. Just saying, they're proponents of telecom. And I am so excited to know when our telecom code update is going to be up for our review. Do you know when that will be? Because I've tried to
Michelle,
reach Mike and...
as stated today in the email that you received from Mr. Welty, it is working, it will be out shortly. He did not have an exact date. I saw the email that he forwarded to you. So to bring it up again, Mike wrote to you earlier this week that it is coming out. If you want any
Oh,
further...
no, I didn't see that.
Oh, yeah, he sent it to you because I was CC'd on it, Michelle. He sent it to you, I was CC'd on it, so you have it. If you don't have it,
I'm gonna go pick
send me
it
an
up.
email and
I
I'll
might
send
have
it back
missed
to
it,
you.
Jay.
Yep,
I might have missed that, Jay.
Yep, he did send it out.
Yeah, I'm gonna be taking a look at that because there were a whole bunch of key points. And one of the things that was most alarming that was missing was random testing. I mean, there was a resident in a town that went deaf in 1 year within 2 weeks of a new antenna being installed next to him. And when they finally tested the antenna, what was being emitted was 1,000 times higher than the FCC guidelines. So, you know, I don't know if we have random testing in there. I'll take a look at what Mike sent. I probably missed it if he sent something to me pertaining to our telecom update. So I hope that the public has a chance to comment on that before it's ratified.
Michelle,
Okay?
any code change like that comes to a public hearing, you do get your chance to look at it. From the date that we announce the public hearing to the public hearing time, you get to announce it again until it's passed.
Okay. And you don't know when that is, Jay, do you?
No, because he stated in his email, they're working on it. They had just finished the cannabis and the short-term rentals, and I think that's the
Okay.
next one they're working on. Yep.
Yep. Okay, thank you, Jay.
You're welcome.
Trucks.
Anybody else?
Make it
Mr. Renahan.
We gotta go out of that? Do we have to get out of that?
Make a motion, resume the rules. All in favor?
Us.
Thanks, sir.
Be it resolved, the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby adjourn to executive session to consider the following: collective negotiations pursuant to Article 14 of the Civil Service Law, and be it further resolved that no action appropriating money will be taken. So moved.
Second.
Been a motion second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Town board goes in executive session at 7:38 PM. I'd like to invite Mike Simons and Jessica Servideo to join us.
We had no rules.